even though I know that I earned it. I know that I earned the right to be in that space and place and in that role. But I was still grappling with like, am I sure? Am I qualified? I don't really know what I'm doing. I like to say, really in the world of entrepreneurship, and I think leadership is the same, you have these moments of like, I'm killing it or it's killing me. Yeah, it's probably more because leadership will jack you up. Like you will take a left hook, a right hook. Leadership will expose the most, what's the word I'm looking? Vulnerable parts of your soul.
Yeah. And I was like, look, if I don't like the person, if I don't feel right about it, I need an escape plan. So I created one. An air mattress was ready. I was ready.
You were ready, but here's what I'll say. I don't know how fast you escape because that altitude.
Yeah. LaToya Collins-Jones. Oh my gosh. It feels like we've been friends for years and years and years. And we've only known each other for what, a few months?
A few months.
Yeah.
Yes.
That feels odd to say that.
Just a few months.
Yeah, that's not true. Let's just change history. That's not true.
You're
my childhood friend. You're my bestie.
We grew up together.
Yeah, grew up together.
Separately. But together, simultaneously. Magically together. That's how that works. If you didn't know. That's how time works.
Yeah.
You just make it up.
Wow. So, LaToya, I wanted to have you on the show because I got a chance to hear your story at Camp Well during the retreat. There were so many late nights where we were just up talking and laughing, being late to breakfast the next morning.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We weren't late. We were there. We were on time. We did the thing.
I mean, breakfast wasn't put up, so technically we weren't late.
True.
Boom.
All right.
Yep.
I can do with that. I can do with that.
That's my truth. Now, the clock may say something else, but we're time benders, so it's okay.
Well, I loved being able to get a chance to hear your story. And I was like, I have to share this with people. But I was a little apprehensive because I'm going to laugh. I'm trying not to laugh this entire time. Just behave. I'm going to ask you to behave. Jesus, no.
Behave? I'm always behaving. I get the Brie Clark voice, too.
What? There's no voice.
There's is a voice.
I do. This is how it sounds. No.
But we're gonna keep going.
So at the retreat, I learned a lot about you, and we talked a lot about truth. We talked a lot about just processing through things and all of that. Tell me, because I also learned during the retreat, like from the get-go, we had so much in common, that you were a fellow vlogger, that you loved all things YouTube, that you worked in corporate America, but were also stylish, diversity and inclusion, all the things.
All the things.
So tell me, let's back up. I need to get to know you a little better. Okay. I need to do a litmus test to make sure this friendship is going to continue.
Oh, bless it. Let's all say a prayer right now. They may not make it.
Tell me and our viewers, who is LaToya Collins-Jones?
Yeah, LaToya Collins-Jones. So this is what I'd say. I am military brat. So my dad was in the Marine Corps for 23 years. I'm originally from East Texas. Yeah. I always like to tell people, do you know where Paris, Texas is? And then I say, it's not Paris, Texas. It's actually 30 miles south of that. But it's the biggest town. Yeah. Literally closest to get you in the direction of where I'm from. So I'm originally from Clarksville, Texas. Okay. And my dad joined the Marine Corps, and he helped, really shape my life in terms of him and my mom, young parents, but got a chance to grow up in Kansas City, Oklahoma City, New Orleans, and then went to school in Georgia, got hitched up in Georgia, stayed in Georgia, picked up everything, moved to Austin, kind of hit a reset when we came to Austin.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So before that, I mean, there's a lot that has happened in that time, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
We talked a lot about vulnerability during the retreat and how that has been hard for both of us in our time. Tell me, do you think you being an Army brat was kind of like why that might have been hard? Just having to move around so much?
Okay, so first, before I answer this question.
Okay, go ahead.
You can't call me an Army brat because my dad's a Marine.
So, yeah.
I just want for the record.
I'm so sorry.
For the record, wait, we got for
I
the
didn't
record.
Say that.
All the cameras. My dad was a Marine, so I would consider myself a military brat. But I just had to clear the record up because for my dad, just in case he's watching, because he's gonna watch.
I don't want to be off his list. I haven't met him yet. I'm so sorry, sir.
Yeah. Yes. Now we can move forward. So let's talk about vulnerability. Why is vulnerability hard?
Yeah.
And as a military, I don't think necessarily my military upbringing had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
With my dad, like being in the Marine Corps, I think a lot of it is just, at least for me, growing up when my dad was in the military,
Yeah.
oftentimes I was in schools where I didn't see myself a lot, right? So pretty much until all through elementary, I was usually the only black girl in my entire grade.
Yeah.
And usually there were like 5 or 6 other black kids in my grade. And so I think after a while, you just kind of learn to just get a little thick skin on you. And so you just learn to kind of keep going, keep digging. And so you learn a lot about perseverance. And naturally, I think also being the new kid more than once also shapes it, because like, can't show them that you're weak when you come in. As the new kid, you have to set the tone. Right?
You've said that you've always been the jokester.
Oh, always.
Because of that.
Oh yeah, you people won't punch you if you make them laugh.
I mean,
that's a good
unless
rule.
you tell them bad jokes and they're laughing at you, you can get punched. And that was my childhood.
I've been known to maybe take a joke just a smidgen too far. I'm still laughing, but I'm like, "Ugh, that one didn't land well."
That didn't land well.
But it's served me well for the most part.
Yeah. And from that, diversity and inclusion became a very big part of what you do now. Tell me how you landed there, because you do that in the corporate world.
Yes.
You help shape culture, reshape culture.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think a lot of my upbringing allows me to be good in this job because I was in suburbia, and then my mom's family lived in the inner city of Kansas City, and then I would spend my summers in East Texas, right? So I had a lot of exposure to different cultures all the time simultaneously.
Yeah.
Right? So I know the 90s rock pop songs. I also, if you turn on regulators, I'm not guaranteeing that I can't not do, regulators, no, no, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to not turn right? So it's all of those pieces of the puzzle that really I think shaped me and then allowed me to kind of appreciate all the different cultures. We talked about my love for documentaries, so I'm a connoisseur of cultures. I'm a connoisseur of people's stories, and I think that's why I'm good at my job, because I maintain a spirit of curiosity.
Yeah.
Right? But then I think as far as the transition into the world of diversity and inclusion, I think more or less it's less about the industry. I'm just in the people business. I care about people and seeing people live their best lives, be the best selves, and I think that to me is really what it's about, right? That medium doesn't stop, whether I'm in corporate, whether I'm in church, whether I'm out and about. The goal is just to make people feel like they belong, because I've been the new kid a lot.
Yeah.
And so the new kid just wants to feel like they belong.
Yeah.
Right?
We talked about how we shared that in common, because for me, my family wasn't in the military in any type of capacity, but I moved from school to school to school. It wasn't until high school that I got to a school that I stayed at more than a year or so. And so in a lot of those spaces, I was also the only Black, the only minority. And so it was just interesting talking to you and hearing my story, but just with a different flavor. And that's kind of like the premise of the show, is to meet people and talk to them and hear your story, but with a different flavor, and know that you're not alone in some of these things that you're going through, that your lived experience doesn't make you any different than anyone in this world, because we're all a little bit of a mess. We've been talking about that too.
Listen, been there, done that, got a t-shirt, diploma, all the things. We're all a version of a mess.
Yeah. So you talked about some hard things as well that you had to go through. What do you think has been the biggest thing that you've overcome that has shaped you and has given me the lovely LaToya that I know now?
Ooh, what's one of the biggest things that shaped me? I would have to say, honestly, I think it's been a series of things.
Yeah.
Right? I think one thing that really shifted was going from corporate to running my own business and then back to corporate. That was probably one of the biggest things that shaped me, because it forced me to grapple with the idea that what you do is not who you are. Right? So I was trying to force this square peg in a round hole, right? I wasn't happy running my business. It was exhausting. It was stressing. It was taxing me. It was taxing my marriage. It was just all of these things. And so I had to make a decision. And I was like, all right, God, you know, if you want me to go back to corporate, you better make it easy. That was literally my prayer.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, that's how I talk to God. I'd be like, yo, God, like, that's.
Hey, home.
Hey, listen, God, if you want me to go back,
Yeah.
I need you to make this easy. And that was the prayer I prayed. And so when I came back into corporate, I kind of took it easy because it was a shift in my identity, because so much of my identity had been wrapped in being in like hustle culture, being an entrepreneur, being a mom, kind of juggling all the things. And that led to just straight up burnout.
Yeah.
And so coming back in, it just allowed me to really reset and then find my identity in my faith in Christ, and then finding my identity, like giving myself permission just to be myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've talked a lot about how identity is a big part of why a lot of people suffer with imposter syndrome,
Yep.
depression, anxiety, those types of things. And it's hard to navigate when you don't 100% understand that that is what it is to
Yes.
begin with, you know? And so it was just interesting just getting to hear your story and just talk about some of those things. We also talked about how through that, you've decided to start your own platform,
Yes.
The Bruised Leader. Tell me, the Bruised Leader.
Well, the intentional leader.
The Intentional Leader, sorry.
Yeah. So
I'm getting everything wrong today.
it's all
You just
good.
so
You know,
distracted.
Bruce leader is probably accurate. It's probably more because leadership will jack you up. Like you will take a left hook, a right hook. Leadership will expose the most what's the word I'm looking? Vulnerable parts of your soul.
Yeah.
Leadership will definitely do that. So maybe it could be like a subtitle: the intentional leader or bruised leader.
Yeah.
Right. So the intentional leader. This is kind of how I think about it. It's great working in corporate.
Yeah.
But working in corporate is very equivalent a lot of times to working in a 5-star restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you go in and you want to figure out how to really feed the people, there's lots of layers. And when I say people, I mean leaders or aspiring leaders. There's lots of layers. You got to do the thing, you got to build the thing, you've got to get it signed off, you've got to do all of these things to actually get to what you need to give the person, the leader who's needing it. And so I was like, yo, like, they're just hungry. Most people want to be great leaders. Right? Most aspiring leaders just want to figure out what they need to do so that they can be a great leader.
Yeah.
And so the intentional leader is my version of a food truck.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Right? So I was just like, yo, beep, beep, here you go. Right? Like that's, look, it's not going to be nice and neat and clean.
Yeah.
But it will feed you. Right? And it will give you what you need to continue to keep going. And maybe the food truck is something that holds over until something bigger comes along, or you have the money or the access to get something bigger. But right now you're just hungry and I just want to feed you.
Yeah.
And so that's really what the intentional leader is about. It's food truck style leadership.
Yeah. And it's hard to find community in leadership. A
It
lot
is.
of times, I mean that's just hard. You're expected to be in a certain position that doesn't that's a little isolating at times. And so, what are some of the things that you think leaders are dealing with? Because I mean, for them there is a lot of anxiety, there is a lot of pressure, and sometimes that pressure does turn into depression and other things. Tell me how you've seen that happen and how that's happened for you.
Well, I can even tell you like myself, right?
Yeah.
Like as I've gone through the leadership journey, like for a while, you know, when I was told like, hey, you know, we're going to name you executive, I was like, y'all sure? Like I did not want to celebrate.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was like, let me just wait till I get the little contract, we sign it. Like, is it right? Like, I didn't want to believe it and didn't necessarily trust it, even though I know that I earned it. I know that I earned the right to be in that space and place and in that role. But I was still grappling with like, am I sure? Am I qualified? I don't really know what I'm doing. I like to say, you know, really in the world of entrepreneurship, and I think leadership is the same, you have these moments of like, I'm killing it or it's killing me, right? Like there's kind of these two variances. And so I think a lot of times leadership has become harder because you have, at least in the corporate world, you've got 4 generations in the workforce, right? At least 4. You've got boomers, you've got Xers, you've got millennials, you've got Gen Zs, all with different ideas of what work is, trying to figure out how to get the best out of people, navigating their personal lives, navigating your work, your expectations, your home life, right? It just becomes a lot of things. And so I think that's what a lot of times leaders struggle with, is really prioritizing And one of the things I like to encourage leaders to do is your first priority is yourself. Put your oxygen mask on first. That's where leaders, I think, that's usually the first mistake they make.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about the show about people sharing kind of what's going on with them, just so people know that they are not alone.
Yeah.
I am not alone in this. I'm not the only person that feels this. And especially when it comes to imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It is hard for a leader to say, this is what I'm dealing with, because then am I telling people that I'm not qualified, that I shouldn't be able to do what I do?
Yep.
You also talk about disruptors. I'm going to let you explain that.
Oh, disruptors. Disruptors probably go between the thrill of disrupting to the other extreme of imposter.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you have disruption, I like to think of disruption as like positive disruption.
Yeah.
I don't like to break things for the sake of breaking things. I mean, when I was a kid, I did, but that's
another story.
Yeah.
Season 3.
Yeah, that's season 3. I won't tell you the things I actually broke and or possibly didn't tell the truth about how I broke them. But that's for an Oprah moment, right? Like that'll be a Brie Oprah moment. I'm like, so let me confess about the window I broke. But I won't talk about that. But nonetheless, so when you're a disruptor, I think oftentimes you are willing to break the status quo.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're coming into spaces that people are used to doing the things that they're used to doing. Right? So if I'm coming in and I'm challenging that, people's usually first instinct is to defend.
Yeah.
Right? And so I really learned how to be successful in disruption. Sometimes, I try not to come in really blazing, but there are other times that, I may figure out what's important, what are they trying to defend. A lot of times it's rooted in fear, because when you're a disruptor, you're coming in with new ideas, new innovation, things that challenge the status quo. We've always done it this way, but why? Right? Is it serving us now? Does it actually make sense? But the thing I love about disruptors is that usually disruptors change history. Right? So if you think about Jesus was a disruptor. It's like, yo, this dude is healing people on the Sabbath, right? Like he also turned over the table in the synagogue, right? So like the ultimate disruptor, right? You think about Martin Luther King, disruptor, right? He came in and said, hey, this is how I'm going to do things different. You think about Malcolm X. You think about how Oprah shifted and changed television as we know it. You think about Tyler Perry and the movie industry. Like, I don't know about y'all, but like this dude was so good. Like people were bootlegging his play. Yeah. like let's think about that. Like nobody else was like, people don't even bootleg Hamilton. Now we got the internet, but like just think about how crazy that is. Yeah. That people were sneaking into a show to record the show, to press it and then sell it in a barbershop.
Yeah.
How disruptive was that? And he started it from scratch. And so disruption can feel alone, because you're going against the grain. But I think, narrow is the gate.
Yeah. Well, and there's no affirmation in disruption at first.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. It's like
everybody wants to cheer when you get it.
What are you doing?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Everybody will cheer when you get it. But usually, sometimes you have to prove it. And I have no problem. Like, I tell people all the time, sometimes I don't fight with feelings, I fight with facts. Yeah. And so that's usually how I start, is just where are the facts, where's the truth? Yeah. And then I kind of move them into that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you found the balance of being able to do what you love in the corporate world and also still find a creative outlet and be a creative.
Yeah, most days.
Sometimes. Most days. How has that been for you? Has that been, because I think you've told me that's kind of been your outlet for you to kind of have mental fitness, is to be able to exercise that creative muscle.
Yeah, it's, I think one of the things I'm learning in this whole process is, one, I'm extremely competitive.
Yes.
Just
you just learned that? Because I think if I would have known you my whole life, I would have been like, yeah.
I'm just a smidge, right? And so creativity, you can get really into comparison. Yeah. And so I think a lot of times for me, like when I want to create or I'm trying to create or tell a story, I get in my head. And so just because I can do something awesome with amazing B-roll and cuts and flips and tricks and all of that, sometimes it's just the story that comes through. Yeah. Right. And so it's having to remind myself that, you know, I'm leaving the gym, I'm sweaty, I'm gross, and I hit record and I just say whatever's on my mind or my heart when I was working out. That's the stuff that's actually reaching people. And that to me is just a reminder that when you share what God has given you and your gift, like he always makes room. It doesn't matter how you package it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been now my balance is kind of letting go of what I think is good.
Yeah.
And then just holding on to what is God, and then just allowing him to kind of guide my way. I'd be like, can I just put a filter on though, Lord? Like a little lipstick, something. But sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to just hit record and I need to share it.
Yeah.
And so some of probably my most rawest videos are the ones where people are like, thank you for sharing. And I even had somebody say, hey, I got back into CrossFit because of your videos.
Oh, wow.
And so I think that that's awesome. Like, I don't know how, because listen,
Yeah.
all my CrossFit videos, I'd be struggle busting, okay? Like, the goal of CrossFit is don't die.
Don't talk. Oh my gosh.
In no workouts.
I mean, there's sometimes like you talk about it and I'm like, no. And then I see the video and I'm like, maybe. So, you know, I see it working. I see people wanting to do that.
Yeah.
Why has because CrossFit is also the thing. I forgot about it. I think I just put that in the back of my memory.
I put it in the back of my memory too.
I don't want you to ask me to go because I'm not gonna.
You're never gonna come. Are you always gonna be busy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good
Saturdays,
to know.
there's a standing event that you don't know about, and I can't go. I can't come. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
But with your mental fitness, in addition to creativity, has exercise, has that helped?
Oh, absolutely. There
Yeah.
are some days I go to Monday night.
Yeah.
I go to bed Monday night and I'm like, I don't want to get up at 5 o'clock to go to this gym, but the only way I'm going to make it through Tuesday
Yeah.
is to get in that gym, right? And so, you know, for me, it's lifting heavy.
Yeah.
You know, like even this week, this is a pretty stress.
How much can you bench press? I want to know.
Bench, I'm on like 117.
Okay.
That was, but I hit a PR on my back squat this week at 235. So
Wait, I don't know these terms. PR.
230.
No, PR.
Oh, personal record.
Oh, okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. All right.
You're welcome. But I hit my personal record of like 235. I wasn't even trying to hit 235 on my back squat, but I don't math well
Yeah.
at 5:30 in the morning. I was going for 205, and then we're unloading the plate, and so I'm doing it again. Mind you, I used the calculator when I was loading the plates,
Yeah.
which lets you know how bad I am at just basic math.
Yeah.
But I was going in, put it in, and then I was deloading. I was like, oh, forgot the bar, 235. And so I was like, sweet. Wasn't trying to do that, but it just goes to show you, you just never know when you put your mind to it. Because I was trying to go for 205. I actually thought I was lifting 205. So I unloaded the bar and saw that it was 235. But
I forgot the bar. I always forget the bar. It's okay.
yeah, it was just one of those things. I paid for it later in the week, but it's that mental like physical, mental, spiritual, like those are kind of the things right now that I really try to set my day up for.
Yeah.
Are those three things.
Yeah.
Get in the gym in the word, and then like set my mental mode.
Yeah.
And then
How
go
did
from
you
there.
get to that point? Because if knowing the LaToya that was feeling just in disarray because she had gone from corporate to having own business to then being forced to go back to corporate.
Yep.
How do you think do you think she would be proud of you?
Dude, I don't think I first saw it.
Yeah.
Like, first saw a word.
Let's just say it is.
I was just like, I don't know if that's a word, but it is today. Okay, so so when I think about would she be proud? I think yes.
Yeah.
I'd say yes. I don't think I saw myself where I am now. Definitely beyond what I'm not in the role that I thought. I had no interest in diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
To go that route. I actually even getting into that particular vein, I was hired really as a strategist because I love processes and like breaking things down and putting them back together and finding efficiencies. And that's partially why I was hired into that role. It wasn't because I was super passionate about the topic, but it does yield a vehicle for me to be passionate about people.
Yeah.
And so for me, that reigns all the way through. I don't know if I'll be in this industry, 2 years or 3 years from now, but I will always be in the people industry.
Wow. I love that. So, what do you think helped you get to where you are now? To be able to say, I'm going to go to the gym even though I don't feel like it. I'm going to open my Bible and pray. I'm going to, try and find time to be creative. How do you think you got there?
Desperation.
Just
Desperate, clawing through the week. How did I honestly? There's a saying like the pain of regret and defeat versus the pain of like being in the moment and getting it done.
Yeah.
Eventually, the pain of defeat and regret, I was going to be in pain either way.
Yeah.
So might as well like get something for it.
Yeah. Do
right?
the work.
Yeah, I might I'm be in pain not working out because I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated that I didn't work out. I'm gonna be in pain during the workout, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I might as well get a buyout out of it, right? And so that's kind of how I think about fitness, because either way it's painful.
Yeah.
Right. As far as the word, like, and getting like really into that, I could tell you, I know days I have not gotten into the word. Let's just say I can like that sense of humor can turn to like a smidge of sarcasm.
Yeah.
Just a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Just a little bit faster, right? Because I'm quick-witted. And so, you always want to make sure that how you show up is, doing your work as unto the Lord. And like really, there are moments when I let my frustration get the best of me. Mm-hmm. And so that is trying to just remember that who I represent. But I'm also flawed.
Yeah.
And so I think even me openly sharing my faith and my flaws shows people that you don't have to be perfect to like follow Jesus. And at the same time, I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah.
But I've learned the necessity of getting that daily bread. Because if not, you'll fill up on something.
Yeah.
Right. And so you might as well fill up with what's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny that you say that because we've been talking to a lot of people, and I can't wait for people to see everybody that we've talked to just preparing for the show. But with everyone, there's been a smidge of some type of spirituality that has helped them arrive to where they are of being in a state of kind of gratitude and wanting to share their story and wanting other people to know that they're not alone.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, if there was something you would want to leave our audience with, what would that be?
I'm going to break the fourth wall right now. Be unapologetically dope, right?
Yeah.
It means leaning into who God has created you to be, right? You are unique from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, right? So when I think about being unapologetically dope, I'm in corporate, right? And although I'm in the tech industry, people still feel the need to dress up and do all the things. Like, I'm going to come with like a fly shirt, blazer. If it's cash, it may be a jean jacket. And then my sneakers are going to be on point. Hold up. Ooh.
She's showing.
Yeah, like, right? So my sneakers are always good. Like, so that's me, right? Like, and that becomes a part of who I am. Yeah. And I don't do it because I don't do it for the audience. I don't do it for the oohs and ahs. I do it for me. Because like, when my shoes are fresh, I'm feeling confident about myself. I'm more able to just really like lean into my authenticity. And I think imposter syndrome even creeps up when we're trying to be caricatures, I think I said that right, of other people. It rolled off the tongue weird.
It happened.
I was like, ooh, that was another one. Pass. Okay, gotta give myself an A for that. But that's what happens, right? We are poor imitations of other people. And so when you are unapologetically dope, you are leaning into who you are. And I think about it's like 1 in 4 trillion-ish of you being who you are, right? The odds of you being born, you think about your genetics, all your genes coming together to make you who you are. There's so many different scenarios that plays into making you uniquely you. And then you add in your life experiences, your upbringings, your highs, your lows, all of it comes together to be you. And so the best way that I can do that is by honoring God, by appreciating him for me. Right? When I'm trying to look at you,
I love that.
Right? And try to be like you, it's like I'm not appreciating the creation that he made, right? So that's kind of how I think about it. You kids, how kids make stuff and they be like, look what I made. Right? You're like, oh my God, that's beautiful.
That's so cute.
That's so beautiful.
Oh.
Even when it's not, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what that looks
am I
like.
a bad mom because I don't do that? I'm just like, oh no, baby, let's try again.
I would say my that mom be like, let's give that another try. That was a great first attempt. Right? See how that's how I would have spun that.
Don't troll me in the comment section. Don't do it.
Look, I believe in telling our kids the truth.
Yeah.
And so it's important. But like, that's how I think about God. He says we're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
Right? And so if we walk into that and lean into that,
Yeah.
like, what else do we have to do? Right? We just get to show up.
Yeah.
And then he does all the things for us, right?
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I think about, us as unlikely friends.
Yeah.
Like, I would have never thought a stranger that I met in the wee mountains of the world,
In the wheat mountain.
in the wee mountains of the world, that we would just be great friends and kick it off. I had no idea what I was expecting going into Camp Well.
Yeah.
And then I met you and you're like, yeah, I drove. I was like, oh, wow, from where? And I'm thinking you're going to say Denver because it's not far from Denver. You said, no, Texas. So I was like,
Austin,
Texas?
Texas, yes.
Austin, Texas. You're
Yes.
like, yeah. I'm like, oh, so you
I
drove.
wanted to be able to escape because I didn't know it would be you, okay? And I was like, look, if I don't like the person, if I don't feel right about it, I need an escape plan. So I created one. The air mattress was, I was ready.
You were ready, but here's what I'll say. I don't know how fast you escaped because that altitude...
Yeah.
That altitude was where it would have been a slow getaway for me.
No.
I would have tried to chase you, but
In
I
the
would have
dark.
failed.
Yes.
It was dark, no cell phone service. We were like clinging, like, oh wait, hold on, I got a notification. It was right. It was, but it was amazing, and I think that time away just even allowed us to connect.
Yeah.
I think we took both of our unique experiences.
Yeah.
And in a time and a point where I think we were just both like ready for something different.
Yeah.
And I got an amazing friend out of it. And, we kind of forged a fire together, right?
Can I hug you now?
Can you hug me?
She says she was no.
I don't know what to do with my hands now. I was like, I'm on this couch. I'm like, okay, I don't know how this is going to go. You just literally, I just got nervous. I just started sweating.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. I was like,
What
nervous.
I hope people can take away from this is that this is what people need
100%.
in their lives, and it doesn't always happen when they think it's going to happen.
Yes.
In the season that it's going to happen.
Yes.
And I'm just so excited that we're able to share this.
I mean, I made it
with
to the
people.
Bree Clark show. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here and I get to be on The Real Deal.
Yeah. Well, because
Like, it's good.
you are Real Deal. This has been The Real Deal with Bree Clark. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and you can continue to follow the show on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Until next time, real conversations with real people.